Crashing from 10,000 meters high, I was trapped on a reef only 200 square meters wide with a flight attendant. No signal, no rescue, and the nearest deserted island required swimming through shark-infested waters. At night, we slept in rock crevices, and by day we drank filtered dirty water. Just when I thought we were doomed, she discovered something on the beach and got as excited as if she'd won the lottery. The moment the plane crashed, the headset was filled with piercing electromagnetic static. The captain and the tower lost contact completely. I only remembered the huge impact sound, and then I was swallowed by darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on a beach, half of my body soaked in seawater, aching all over. I am Wang Yuan, a recently retired airborne special forces soldier from the Southeast Military Region, assigned to Zhongluan Group as the deputy security captain. This time I accompanied the company's top management on a flight to Africa for business expansion. I never expected our flight to crash into the Atlantic. Sitting up and looking around, this so-called island was nothing but a Felix 200 square meter reef flat. Apart from a few square meters of sand, there were jagged black rocks everywhere, barren of any life. When I checked my pockets, my cigarettes and lighter had been confiscated at the airport long ago. All that was left were my soaked ID card, passport, and half a pack of tissues. The luminous watch on my wrist was still ticking, 11:42 p.m. At least 10 hours had passed since the crash. I had to survive. Struggling to my feet, I prepared to find something to eat. Suddenly, I saw a metallic glint on the sea surface about 200 meters away. A piece of foam insulation box was drifting, with someone lying on it. I dove into the sea like a shot and swam over. It turned out to be a girl in a flight attendant uniform, pale-faced but still breathing faintly. I quickly dragged her back to shore, pressed her chest, and gave her artificial respiration. Finally, she coughed up a few mouthfuls of water and slowly opened her eyes. "Where is this?" she asked weakly. "I'm not sure either. The plane crashed into the sea, and we're now on a rocky island," I said. "Don't worry, we're safe for now." I let her take a moment to recover. She struggled to sit up, looked around, realized it was me who saved her, and whispered thanks. I waved my hand. "We're both stranded here. It's only right to help each other." I asked how she was feeling. She said she wasn't injured, but was terribly thirsty. I gave a bitter smile. "Fresh water is our biggest problem now. Let's wait until dawn to figure things out. My name is Wang Yuan. Yuan as in source of water. What about you?" "Rin Yuan," she said, lowering her head. "Haha, what a coincidence. Our names both have Yuan." I tried to lighten the mood. Her face flushed slightly. I only then noticed she was still wearing high heels, which definitely wouldn't work for walking on the reef. I told her to rest while I searched for food along the coast, turning over crevices in the rocks. I only found 2 empty mineral water bottles, which I picked up as I went. I also knocked off a dozen fist-sized wild oysters, cracked them open with a stone, and handed them to her. She took a bite, her eyes lighting up. "So fresh. I've never had anything this delicious." I casually mentioned that during military field training, I often ate raw rabbit, snake, earthworms, and such. She frowned and quickly told me to stop. When the conversation turned to my military service, I said I was in field infantry. She pursed her lips in disbelief, and I didn't bother to explain further. After a moment of silence, we lay on the beach, gazing at the moon. It was the Mid-Autumn Festival, and she softly said, "Happy Mid-Autumn Festival." I felt a warmth in my heart and replied. After all the commotion, we both fell asleep. I woke up at dawn, 6:10, and Rin Yuan was still curled up asleep. I took off my jacket and covered her with it, then went to the seaside to rinse my mouth. Suddenly, I saw a suitcase floating about 300 or 400 meters away. If I didn't get it soon, it would drift away. I stripped off my shirt and pants, and dove in wearing only my underwear. By the time I dragged the suitcase back, she was awake, looking around. When she saw me, she rushed over and hugged me. She said in a teary voice, "I thought you left me behind." I smiled and patted her. "No way. Look what good stuff I fished out." Only then did she realize I was still bare-chested. Her face turned red all the way to her ears, and she quickly urged me to put on clothes. I threw them on haphazardly and opened the suitcase. Inside were men's clothes, a few t-shirts, track pants, a pair of canvas shoes, and a pair of sneakers. All size 42, they fit me. The toiletries bag had soap, body wash, toothbrush and toothpaste, plus a rechargeable razor and a charging cable. In the inner pocket, I found spare medicine and a stack of cash. There was also a small box, Durex. Rin Yuan grabbed it and was about to throw it away, but I quickly stopped her. "Don't throw it. It might come in handy on a deserted island." She flushed with anger and cursed. "Pervert. Then she turned and walked away. Unfazed, I found a keychain with a multi-tool knife, which was basically a lifesaver. Seeing she was suffering in high heels, I handed her a black tracksuit and told her to change behind a big rock. I took the knife and an empty bottle to look for fresh water. Climbing a reef nearly 10 meters high, I found a rainwater puddle at the top. The water was murky with small bugs, but I tasted it. It was fresh. I used the key to pick out debris and filled 2 bottles. She had changed clothes, with sleeves and pant legs rolled up, looking petite. When she saw I brought water, her eyes lit up with joy. I picked a pure white cotton t-shirt as a filter and strained the murky water. I poured it into the cut bottom of a mineral water bottle as a cup. She took it and drank it all in one go. She must have been parched. I kept 1 bottle for later and put it in the suitcase. The midday sun was scorching. I had to find some shade. I circled around to the other side of the reef and found a large stone slab leaning diagonally, forming a V-shaped crevice of about 8 or 9 square meters underneath. It was cool inside. I quickly carried her over and moved the suitcases in. She sat on the foam board, finally having a temporary shelter. After settling her down, I went looking for food. I pried open oysters from the cracks in the reef and unexpectedly found an empty 5-liter peanut oil bucket. I rinsed it clean with sand and seawater and cut 2 large holes on opposite sides near the top with my knife to use as a bucket. I took a walk along the coast, found 2 more buckets like that, and gathered about half a bucket of seafood: oysters, sea urchins, mussels, and a large coconut snail. I sliced the snail meat and we shared it, finally filling our stomachs. I climbed up the tallest reef to look around and suddenly spotted a gray, hazy outline to the southeast. My heart raced. I shouted down below, "Yuan Yuan, there's an island." Ignoring the lingering pain in her foot, she limped out, and I quickly pulled her up. There was indeed an island in the distance, with faint traces of white waves crashing against visible and hidden reefs. We had to go there. This tiny reef might be submerged at high tide, and the seafood would soon run out, along with the fresh water. "We'll swim over. Can you make it?" I asked. She nodded, saying she could swim, but not far. I said we'd set off early tomorrow morning and prepare some food today. Besides, there might be sharks in the sea. We'd have to take a gamble. So the 2 of us began preparations for the move. The strong sunlight was a good opportunity to dry some provisions. I smashed open the mussels, oysters, and spicy snails I'd gathered, took out the meat, and spread it on a flat rock to dry. Rin Yuanyu and couldn't sit still either. She waded barefoot in the shallow water along the beach, then suddenly bent down, felt around, and scooped up a white clam with a beautiful pattern. She jumped for joy, like a child discovering treasure. In no time, her pockets were full of white clams, and she proudly showed them off to me. I added those to the bucket to dry as well. Her foot was still a bit lame. I rummaged through the suitcase, found 2 pairs of men's underwear, and pulled out the elastic bands. She stuffed the rags into the sneakers, patting the front and back. Holding them out to her, "Try them on. If they don't fit, I'll adjust them." She put them on, took a few steps, and exclaimed with surprise, "They're perfect." Excitedly, she rushed over and kissed me on the cheek. I froze for a moment. She immediately blushed. I got too excited. "Thank you." I scratched my head, changing the subject. "There's a backwater cove to the east. When the tide goes out, a lot of seafood gets trapped there. Let's go grab some dinner." She pursed her lips in a smile and reached out her hand for me to help her. The reef path was uneven. I took her soft hand and carefully led her to the cove. The water there was shallow, no deeper than the knees, with rocks around it forming a natural trap. I told her to sit on a rock and wait to catch, then took off my shoes and socks and waded in. The water was clear. I bent over, slowly feeling around, and soon grabbed 2 conches as big as fists. I turned and tossed them to her. "Catch." She caught them with both hands, her eyes crinkling with a smile. I kept feeling around, and another big one landed in my hands, heavy. In the water's light, I saw it was a black-spined sea urchin. A clever idea struck me, and I deliberately called out, "Catch this steady." He lightly tossed the sea urchin toward her. She instinctively reached out, but when she saw those black spines, she jerked her hand back in fright. The sea urchin landed on the rocks by her feet. She stomped her foot and screamed, "Ah, you're so annoying." "Ha!" Wang Yuan laughed loudly. "Oof, you pest. Damn Wang Yuan. Stinky Wang Yuan. Making fun of me. Making fun of me." Rin Yuan pouted, crouched by the water's edge, and splashed water at Wang Yuan. Wang Yuan quickly raised his hands in surrender. "I surrender, I surrender. Spare me, warrior goddess." "Humph." Rin Yuan turned her head away, ignoring him. Wang Yuan hurried over, picked up the sea urchin, and went to stand in front of her. Look, the spines on this sea urchin aren't sharp. At such a close distance, and I didn't use force, so it won't prick your hand. But it would still hurt. Okay, I was wrong. Spare me, warrior goddess. To let you take revenge, I've decided to kill this sea urchin so you can eat it raw. Wang Yuan pulled out a knife with a fierce expression and attacked the sea urchin. How dare you bully my Yuan Yuan? How dare you bully my Yuan Yuan? He pried open the sea urchin in a few quick moves and handed it to Ren Yuan Yuan, squeaking. Your servant has executed the criminal by dismemberment. Please, your highness, eat with peace of mind. Uffed. Ren Yuan Yuan couldn't help but laugh out loud. She took the sea urchin and the knife. Your highness, your servant will now go prepare the evening meal. Ha! Ren Yuan Yuan then put on a stern face and said, Ziyuanzi, I am tired. You may take your leave. Yes, your highness. Wang Yuan quickly cupped his hands and retreated. Ha! Wang Yuan went back down into the creek to continue catching seafood. Ren Yuan Yuan ate the sea urchin in a few bites. Wang Yuan found a sea cucumber and tossed it up, and Ren Yuan Yuan caught it. Sea cucumber. It's a sea cucumber. Wild sea cucumber. Ren Yuan Yuan exclaimed in surprise. Yeah, this is called a sea cucumber, a type of sea cucumber. Ren Yuan Yuan stopped sitting and crouched by the creek, watching. The water in the creek was very clear. You could see straight to the bottom. One moment she pointed to one side. There's a sea urchin. The next moment she pointed to the other side. Quick, there's a conch. Look, over there's a big lobster. Ren Yuan Yuan pointed at a spot. Shoo, keep it down. Wang Yuan carefully approached, slowly reaching his hands toward the lobster, then suddenly grabbed it by the back and lifted it up. Ha! Wang Yuan burst out laughing. Yeah. Ren Yuan Yuan jumped up and down with joy. Wang Yuan quickly ran ashore and stuffed the huge lobster into the oil drum. It was about the size of a small forearm. He went back to the cove and gathered some sea urchins and conches. That's enough. No more catching. The rest of the fish, shrimp, and crabs aren't suitable for eating raw. Let's go back. Okay. Ren Yuan Yuan was very happy. Wang Yuan glanced at his watch. It was a little past 6. He poured some seawater into the oil drum, then helped Ren Yuan Yuan back to the cave. The two of them peeled the giant lobster, sliced it, and ate it, along with a few sea urchins and conches, and were full. I need to use the bathroom, Ren Yuan Yuan said, her face flushing with embarrassment. Then go behind that reef over there. I'll check on the seafood I set out to dry. Wang Yuan handed her a pack of tissues. Oh, okay, thanks. Ren Yuan Yuan took the tissues and walked around the reef. Wang Yuan grabbed a t-shirt and walked over to where the seafood was drying. The seafood was already dried, so he wrapped it in the t-shirt. He then noticed the stockings drying nearby and took them back as well. He put away the wrapped seafood. Just then, Ren Yuan Yuan returned, so he handed her the stockings. She blushed as she took them and stuffed them into her pants pocket. I'm going to sit on the rocks for a while. Want to come? Yeah, let's go together. Wang Yuan took Ren Yuan Yuan's hand and led her to the rocks, where they sat side by side. The sky wasn't fully dark yet, and the moon had already risen. A gentle breeze blew, making it feel quite cool. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival, Wang Yuan said. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Wang Yuan lay down, resting his head on his arms, gazing at the moon in the sky. Ren Yuan Yuan followed his lead and lay down as well. The sky gradually darkened, but the moon was round and bright. And in the moonlight, everything around was visible. The two lay quietly on the rocks, watching the moon. Brother Yuan, how old are you this year? Ren Yuan Yuan addressed Wang Yuan as Brother Yuan for the first time, feeling awkward. I'm 23. What about you? I'm 21. What do you do? I served in the military for 5 years and was discharged at the end of last year. I've been back for over half a year and haven't found a job yet. Later, a military commander sent me to work as a security guard at a company. I had only been there for less than 2 months when the company expanded overseas and organized some key personnel to set up a branch in Africa. That's when all this happened. I still can't figure out what a lowly security guard like me could do to help set up a branch. Do you miss home? I really miss my parents. I'm an orphan. I grew up in an orphanage. Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. Do you have a girlfriend? Ren Yuan Yuan turned her head to look at Wang Yuan. No. At that moment, a figure appeared in Wang Yuan's mind. A girl with 2 pigtails and big, sparkling eyes. Standing under the big tree at the entrance of the orphanage, she wiped her tears with one hand while waving the other, crying out, Brother, you have to come back to find Xiaoni. Without realizing it, a tear slid from the corner of his eye, unnoticed by Ren Yuan Yuan. Just then, the The wind picked up. Let's go down. I'm a bit cold, Rin Yuan said. Wang Yuan sat up and looked into the distance. The waves were getting bigger, and a white line was rolling in from afar. That's a big wave. Not good. The tide is rising. Quick, go down and pack up. Wang Yuan shouted. Huh. Rin Yuan stood up, looking confused. Hurry. Don't just stand there. Wang Yuan quickly pulled her down. About 2 meters above the ground on the slope, there was a small ledge. Wang Yuan said, wait here. With that, he jumped down. He hurried back to the stone cave, grabbed his suitcase and an oil barrel, ran back, and threw them onto the ledge. Catch! He ran back again, picked up the foam board and another oil barrel, and threw them up. Then he went back into the cave, grabbed a few mineral water bottles, checked to see if there was anything else, and climbed up the reef. By now, the seawater had already risen into the stone cave, and it was visibly rising. The two of them carried everything to the top of the reef. The seawater won't come up here, will it? Rin Yuan asked. No. How do you know? Because I got fresh water up here. Oh. Rin Yuan thought for a moment and understood. After a while, the wind died down and the waves gradually subsided. The seawater had risen to within 5 or 6 meters of the top and gradually stopped rising. I'm so thirsty. Then drink a little less. We need to save some for tomorrow. Wang Yuan took out the filtered water, unscrewed the cap, and handed it to Rin Yuan. Okay. Rin Yuan took it, drank 2 sips, and handed it back. Wang Yuan took it without even looking and took a swig from the bottle. This is an indirect kiss, right? Rin Yuan blushed, her face turning red. Wang Yuan opened the suitcase and took out a jacket, draping it over Rin Yuan. Thank you, she said, blushing and lowering her head, her voice as faint as a mosquito's buzz. Wang Yuan spread out a foam board and said, we'll have to make do here for tonight. You rest for a while. Rin Yuan curled up on the foam board. Wang Yuan found a suit jacket from the suitcase and covered her with it. He stood up and looked around. The seawater was slowly receding. It was now 7 or 8 meters from the top. The cave was still submerged in water. Suddenly, he saw something floating in the sea. By the moonlight, he could make out a grayish shape, about 200 meters away. A backpack. Wang Yuan quickly took off his shoes and clothes, dove into the sea, and swam toward the floating object. Rin Yuan lay there for a while, hearing no sound at all. She looked up and saw no one, then stood up suspiciously, looking around. She saw Wang Yuan swimming in the water, almost reaching the floating object. She couldn't help but laugh, cupped her hands around her mouth, and shouted at him. Wang Yuan, go, go, Wang Yuan. Wang Yuan, with a face full of black lines in the sea, I'm not in a race, you know, swam closer and found it was a blue backpack. Delighted, he grabbed it and swam back. When he reached the reef, Rin Yuan was still cheering. All right, stop shouting. Wang Yuan climbed to the top, opened the suitcase, found a disposable towel from a corner, roughly dried his hair and body, and put on clothes. Open it and see what's inside. Humph, I know you have abs, show off. Rin Yuan muttered. Wang Yuan opened the backpack and saw a few women's clothes and a pair of women's hiking shoes inside, though they were all soaked. Inside the backpack, there was also a sealed plastic box, like a storage container. The backpack might not have sunk because of the box's buoyancy. Plus, there was a pack of chocolate and some cookies and other snacks. I took out the box. It had 4 buckles, one on each side. When opened, there were a few bottles of cosmetics and a toiletry bag inside. The toiletry bag held a bar of soap, a comb, toothpaste, a toothbrush, and so on. In the small compartment of the backpack, I found some medicine, a few thousand yuan in cash, a roll of toilet paper, and a pack of sanitary pads. I emptied everything out and set it aside to air dry. Well, this backpack is yours from now on, okay? Rin Yuan blushed again. Wang Yuan raised his wrist to check his watch and said, it's midnight. Let's rest. We still need to go to that island tomorrow. With that, he took out 2 pairs of pants from the suitcase, rolled them up to use as a pillow, and lay down. Sleep first, Rin Yuan said, then went back to rummaging through the plastic box, which was filled with cosmetics and toiletries. Wang Yuan ignored her and soon fell asleep. The next morning, just as the sky was turning light, he woke up. He raised his hand to look at his watch. It was only 6 o'clock. This was a habit he had developed in the army, waking up at 6 every day. He got up and looked around. Rin Yuan was sleeping soundly, covered by his suit jacket. By now, the tide had receded. He opened the suitcase, took out his toiletry bag, jumped off the reef, and went behind a large rock to take care of his personal needs. Then he walked onto the sand, went to the seaside, cupped some seawater to rinse his mouth, and squeezed some toothpaste onto his finger. He brushed his teeth with his finger. There was a toothbrush inside, but he didn't feel right about using it. After brushing, he washed his face with soap, then returned to the stone cave, put down his toiletry bag, and climbed onto the reef. He gathered all the items that had been drying, took them into the stone cave, and then sat down, gazing at the distant eastern horizon over the sea. Soon, rosy clouds of dawn began to rise in the east, incredibly beautiful and magnificent. Yuan Yuan, Yuan Yuan, get up. Wang Yuan turned and called out. Ah, it's light. Rin Yuan Yuan rubbed her eyes and sat up. Yeah, come watch the sunrise. Ah, it's so beautiful. I wish I had my phone. I really want to take a picture. Rin Yuan Yuan walked over to Wang Yuan's side, watching the morning glow in the east. Soon the sun rose. Wang Yuan looked at his watch. Well, let's go down, Wang Yuan said. With that, he picked up the suitcase and backpack and walked down. Idiot. No appreciation for beauty. Rin Yuan Yuan stuck out her tongue at Wang Yuan's back and muttered, then picked up 2 oil drums and followed him down. Wang Yuan put down his things, then went back to the reef to retrieve the remaining items. Well, first take off your shoes and change into those. Change your clothes too. I'll go prepare by the seaside in a bit, Wang Yuan said. Rin Yuan Yuan took off her shoes and handed them to Wang Yuan. You go wash up by the sea in a moment. I'll go prepare over there, Wang Yuan said as he took the shoes and pulled out some cloth scraps from inside. Wang Yuan put the shoes into the suitcase, stuffed the cloth scraps into his pocket, picked up the foam board and mineral water bottles, and carried an oil drum out. Rin Yuan Yuan quickly opened her backpack and changed her clothes. Wang Yuan walked around to the southeast, found a rock to sit on, tore some rags into strips, and tied 3 mineral water bottles and an oil can to the 4 corners of the foam board. He put the stuff down and went back. Rin Yuan Yuan was still washing up by the beach. Wang Yuan gathered the clothes and shoes, stuffed them all into the suitcase, and carried it to the foam board. Then he used the cloth strips to tie it to the edge of the foam board. The suitcase was waterproof, so it should be fine. Wang Yuan returned to the stone cave, and Rin Yuan Yuan came back with the plastic storage box. She had changed into sneakers, jeans, and a t-shirt, and wasn't wearing a jacket, but her curves were fully revealed. Well, let's eat something and then set off. Wang Yuan averted his eyes. Okay. A smile lingered at the corner of Rin Yuan Yuan's mouth. Wang Yuan picked up the modified oil can, which was filled with seawater and contained a dozen oysters and a few sea urchins. He poured the contents out, and the two finished eating in a short while. Let's go, said Wang Yuan. He packed the plastic box into his backpack, put on the backpack, and kicked the oil can away. Okay. The two walked to the foam board in the southeast. Wang Yuan opened the suitcase and took out a belt. Come on, let me tie this on you so you won't sink. He fastened the belt around Rin Yuan Yuan's arm. The oil drum lashed to the foam board was secured with an elastic band pulled from his underwear and tied to Rin Yuan Yuan's arm with the belt. Take off your shoes. I'll carry them, Wang Yuan said. Okay. They took off their shoes and stuffed them into the backpack. Wang Yuan carried it and shouted, let's go. They dragged the foam board and suitcase into the sea. Rin Yuan Yuan laughed loudly. Huh? The ship is sailing. They floated slowly southeast, holding onto the foam board and suitcase. Brother Yuan, do you think there are survivors on that island? I don't know, but the plane crashed in this area, so there should be. Then will we encounter sharks? Wang Yuan couldn't quite follow her train of thought. We can only rely on luck. Oh, if we do, we'll kill it. Then roast the shark meat and cook some shark fin soup. Wang Yuan was speechless. Do you think the rescue team will find us? They will. Wang Yuan really couldn't keep up with this little beauty's train of thought. Where are we now? I don't know. You're a flight attendant, don't you know? We flight attendants really don't know anything. The accident just happened all of a sudden. Did you hear any unusual sounds back then? Or notice anything, or anyone suspicious? Not really. I only heard an explosion from the cargo hold, and then nothing else. Rin Yuan Yuan said with a frown. Finally, silence. Wang Yuan watched her sink into thought. He thought. Then he looked around. To conserve energy, the two slowly paddled through the water. Look, that's really an island. Wang Yuan suddenly shouted. Yeah, it really is. Then let's swim quickly, Rin Yuan Yuan said happily. The island was indeed large. Due to direction and distance, it seemed about 5 or 6 kilometers long. It's noon now. Let's have something to eat, replenish our strength, and then we'll push forward. We should arrive in another 2 or 3 hours. Wang Yuan checked his watch. Okay, Rin Yuanyuan said happily. Wang Yuan opened the suitcase, took out the dried seafood wrapped in a t-shirt, and they shared it. They also finished most of the water in the bottle. Both felt their strength returning and their bodies much more comfortable. Let's keep going, Wang Yuan said. Keep going, keep going. They resumed paddling forward on the foam boards. After some distance, they could already see the lush green trees on the island. To the north of the island were some reefs, and to the south of the reefs was a large beach, but the sand was a grayish-white color. To the south of the beach was a high cliff standing vertically in the seawater. Further south was blocked by the cliff and couldn't be seen. Look, there's a piece of clothing. Rin Yuanyuan suddenly pointed ahead. They both paddled hard and approached it. Wang Yuan picked up the clothes. The clothes were a white jacket, already tattered, as if torn by something, with several holes and many bloodstains. Not good. There's a fierce beast nearby. Let's speed up. Wang Yuan threw away the clothes and frowned. Then hurry and paddle, Rin Yuanyuan said. The two quickly used both hands and feet to paddle through the water. Hurry. Row toward the beach. The water is shallow there. Wang Yuan looked around the sea and shouted. The two soon found another torn pair of pants, but they just kept paddling as hard as they could. Suddenly, a huge splash came from behind. Wang Yuan turned his head and saw a large shark leap out of the water and dive back in. The churning waves pushed the two of them forward. Fortunately, it pushed them toward the shore. Now they were only about 200 meters from the land. Rin Yuanyuan screamed. Forget the foam board, just swim. Wang Yuan smashed the corner of the foam board tied to the oil drum and shoved Rin Yuanyuan forward with all his strength. Rin Yuanyuan surged forward 5 or 6 meters, while Wang Yuan fell back 4 or 5 meters. Don't look back, paddle hard, Wang Yuan shouted. Rin Yuanyuan screamed in terror, not daring to stop her hands and feet, paddling frantically, her face pale with fear. They were only 50 meters from the shore, and their feet could already touch the seabed. Rin Yuanyuan quickly stood up, the water was waist-deep, and looked back. She saw Wang Yuan about 10 meters behind her, holding the suitcase with his left hand. A triangular fin about 10 meters behind him broke the water surface, swiftly heading towards Wang Yuan. Rin Yuanyuan screamed in fright. Run, don't worry about me. Rin Yuanyuan hurriedly ran toward the shore, only to hear a loud bang behind her, then a splash, and Wang Yuan landed beside her, still gripping the suitcase. Wang Yuan stood up, shook his head, grabbed Rin Yuanyuan's hand, and ran to the shore. Finally on land, they collapsed onto the ground, lying there gasping for breath. Wang Yuan burst into laughter. Why didn't you just throw the suitcase away? Risking your life for stuff. Rin Yuanyuan rolled her eyes at him. You don't understand. This suitcase saved my life. Turning the suitcase over, one side had several cracks. This suitcase is good quality, definitely made in China. It turned out that when Wang Yuan saw the shark about to hit, he seized the moment. He propped up the suitcase, twisted and turned his body, hiding behind it. The shark rammed into it, sending both him and the suitcase flying. Wang Yuan recounted the story with a cheeky grin. You're just showing off. Rin Yuanyuan rolled her eyes at him. Wang Yuan glanced at his watch. It was 3:30. The domestic watch was really good, no water damage. Wang Yuan stood up and surveyed the island. He spotted 3 coconut trees growing side by side, about 5 or 6 meters apart. Coconuts. Wang Yuan pointed at the trees. Where? Rin Yuanyuan scrambled up to look. The two ran under the trees and looked up, seeing 7 or 8 coconuts on each one. Too high, can't reach them. Rin Yuanyuan looked dejected. Watch me. He spat into his hands and rubbed them together. Clenching a fruit knife between his teeth, he climbed up barefoot. Rin Yuanyuan was stunned, her little mouth hanging open as she watched. In less than 10 seconds, Wang Yuan had reached the top. Watch out, don't get hit, Wang Yuan shouted. Soon, 6 big coconuts fell down, leaving 2 still on the tree. Wang Yuan looked around from the tree and suddenly spotted 2 people among the northern reef cluster. Hey, over here. Come over. Wang Yuan waved with one hand while holding onto the tree with the other. Rin Yuanyuan also looked over there, but due to the angle, she didn't see anything. The other 2 also heard it, looked over, and then ran towards them. Wang Yuan slid down. The 2 sat down. Wang Yuan used a small knife to open 2 coconuts, handing one to Rin Yuanyuan. They drank while waiting for the other 2, who soon arrived. Rin Yuanyuan exclaimed in surprise, Fang Jia, President Jiang. Wang Yuan spoke. It turned out that one of them was a flight attendant from the same plane, and the other was Jiang Yin, the beautiful president leading Jiang Wan Group's overseas business expansion. Rin Yuanyuan stood up, took the flight attendant's hand, and said, "So Fong Jie is still alive. That's great." She then led the flight attendant to sit down. The flight attendant was also delighted, and the two chatted away excitedly. "President Jiang, have a seat," Wang Yuan said. Jiang Yin sat down and, seeing the coconuts on the ground, said, "Could I have a coconut? I'll pay you." Wang Yuan chuckled, "No need." He then used his small knife to open 2 coconuts and handed them to Jiang Yin and the flight attendant. The two of them picked up the coconuts, thanked him, and tilted their heads back to gulp down the coconut water. Wang Yuan found a rock and smashed all 4 coconut shells, revealing the white coconut meat inside. He then handed the knife to Ren Yuan and started digging into the coconut meat with his hands to eat. The 3 of them stared at Wang Yuan in bewilderment. Wang Yuan chuckled, then pulled out a keychain, removed 2 keys, and handed them to the flight attendant and Jiang Yin, saying, "Use these to scoop out the meat and eat." After they all finished eating the coconut meat, Wang Yuan said, "Let's introduce ourselves. My name is Wang Yuan. Boss Jiang is my CEO, and I'm just a security guard at the company. My name is Zhang Lanfang. I'm the flight attendant on this plane," said the flight attendant. "My name is Jiang Yin, CEO of Jiangluan Group," said Jiang Yin. "My name is Ren Yuan. I'm also a flight attendant on this plane, 21 years old, unmarried, and I'm from Quancheng," said Ren Yuan. "Enough, it's not a blind date," Zhang Lanfang interrupted before Ren Yuan could finish. Ren Yuan blushed. "Wait for me a moment. I'm going to pick some coconuts," Wang Yuan said, then picked up the knife and put it in his mouth. He then quickly climbed 2 other coconut trees and threw down the coconuts. Although Ren Yuan had seen this once before, she and the other 2 were still stunned. Wang Yuan slid down, and seeing the 3 of them like that, he was speechless. He opened the suitcase, handed Ren Yuan her sneakers, and then put on his combat boots. There are some clothes inside." Yuan, "Help them change," Wang Yuan said, pointing to the suitcase. "Okay, I'll go look around and see if I can find something to eat." Wang Yuan shouldered his backpack, picked up the multi-purpose fruit knife, and carried the oil can towards the jungle. "Sister Fong, Sister Yin, come pick out something," Ren Yuan said, opening the suitcase to the 2 women. "These are all from dead people. I don't want them." Jiang Yin pouted. "Fussy," Wang Yuan thought to himself, having not gone far in overhearing this. "Don't mind that. We're surviving on a deserted island, and we don't know when rescue will come. Besides, we're all wearing short skirts. This island might have poisonous insects, mosquitoes, ants, and the like. We lack medicine and supplies. If we get bitten, it'll be trouble," Zhang Lanfang said. Flight attendants have all learned a bit about wilderness survival, so they also know how to persuade Jiang Yin. Jiang Yin was wearing a professional suit, a white blouse that was already dirty, a black short skirt, black silk stockings highlighting her long legs, and a pair of black high heels. Zhang Lanfang was wearing a flight attendant uniform, with flesh-colored stockings and black high heels. Both of them were covered in dirt. "All right, stop being so fussy. Change clothes." Ren Yuan glanced in Wang Yuan's direction and said when she saw he had already entered the jungle. "Fine." Jiang Yin reluctantly started looking for clothes, and Zhang Lanfang did the same. Zhang Lanfang found a set of women's sportswear, while Jiang Yin found a pair of women's casual pants and a women's hoodie. Then the 2 of them changed. Wang Yuan walked into the jungle and looked around. He saw some wormwood near the beach, then some bushes further in, and tall trees deeper in the forest. He picked up a branch about 2 meters long, used it to part the grass, and slowly walked toward the woods. He walked to the edge of the woods and found a cluster of cacti with many fruits, most of which were ripe. Wang Yuan quickly picked the cactus fruits, putting them into his backpack, and harvested all the ripe ones. His hands were pricked by the cactus several times. Then Wang Yuan turned in another direction, not entering the woods, because it was getting dark and he didn't know the situation inside, nor whether there were any wild animals. Wang Yuan brushed through the grass and wandered back toward the beach from another direction. Along the way, he spotted many palm trees and banana trees, but unfortunately there were no fruits on the banana trees. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from his front left. Wang Yuan stopped abruptly and listened intently. Suddenly, a snake's head emerged, flicking its tongue at him. Wow, what a thick cobra. Instead of being afraid, Wang Yuan felt very excited. He slowly moved toward the cobra, stopping when he was 2 meters away, gripping the branch in his hand tightly. At that moment, the cobra leaned back, arching its head into a curve, the precursor to an attack. Now, Wang Yuan swung the branch and struck the cobra. Smack! It hit the cobra's weak spot, and the cobra's head flopped to the left. Wang Yuan dropped the branch, leaped into the air, and pounced on the cobra. He grabbed the snake's head with his left hand and lifted it up. Ha! It's so plump. Wang Yuan laughed. The snake was as thick as a child's arm, about 2.5 meters long. It might have been stunned by the blow, writhing as its tail drooped to the ground. Wang Yuan held the snake's head in his left hand, wrapped its body around his arm with his right, picked up the branch and oil can, and headed back to the beach. When he arrived, he saw the 3 women sitting under a coconut tree chatting. Wang Yuan walked over. Look what I caught. Wang Yuan held out his left hand to them. Ah! The women screamed in terror. Take it away and throw it out. The snake might have woken up, constricting Wang Yuan's left hand until it turned purple, and it kept flicking its tongue. The 3 women were pale with fright. Hee, this is a delicacy. Wang Yuan pulled out his small knife, quickly cut off the snake's head with a few strokes, tossed the head into the sea, and threw the body aside. Watching the still twitching snake body, the 3 women were so frightened they shrank back. Throw it away now. Throw it far. Ren Yuanyuan shouted. Hee, it's fine, it's already dead. Wang Yuan said, I'll cook snake meat for you tonight. I'm not eating it. Disgusting. Jiang Yan said. I'm not eating it either, too scary. Zhang Lanfang said. Exactly, none of us will eat it. Ren Yuanyuan said. Okay, well it's getting dark. While it's still light, let's build a shelter. Wang Yuan said. Okay. The 3 women stood up together. So how do we do it? Ren Yuanyuan said. The 3 women looked at Wang Yuan. Well, you go over there and pick some leaves. There are some palm trees and banana trees over there. Wang Yuan pointed in the direction they had just come from. Okay, let's go. Ren Yuanyuan called out. Wait, take these sticks and beat the grass as you walk. It'll keep away snakes and bugs. Wang Yuan handed Ren Yuanyuan a branch. Got it. Ren Yuanyuan took it and said. Wang Yuan headed toward the cluster of reefs to the north, while the 3 women walked toward the jungle. Wang Yuan observed the reef cluster, looking for a suitable spot. Suddenly, he spotted a large reef, 5 or 6 meters high and 7 or 8 meters wide, with its top sloping to the south. This place was perfect. Wang Yuan searched the surroundings for marine debris. There was plenty of it among the reefs. Bamboo and wood, buoys, foam boards, broken fishing nets. He gathered quite a bit of trash and piled it at the base of the reef. The 3 women also came over, each carrying a bunch of large leaves. Wang Yuan, are these leaves enough? Zhang Lanfang asked. The 3 women set down the leaves. Enough, Wang Yuan said. Then what do we do next? Ren Yuanyuan asked. Go gather some dry grass, then collect marine debris. Okay. The 3 women turned and left. Wang Yuan picked up over a dozen bamboo poles and laid them side by side on the ground, spaced about 20 centimeters apart. Then he placed 3 more bamboo poles crosswise on top, one in the middle and one at each end. Found a worn fishing net and used a knife to cut out some ropes. He tied the bamboo poles together with the ropes, then laid out the leaves and tied them on as well. It was getting dark. The 3 women had also collected a lot of ocean debris, along with a pile of dry grass. Well, let's go get the suitcase and coconuts. Saying that, he walked towards the coconut tree, and the 3 women followed behind. There were 14 coconuts in total. Each of the 3 women carried 4, while Wang Yuan put 2 in his backpack, carried it on his back, and dragged the suitcase. He also picked up the dead snake and came back carrying the oil drum. When the 3 women saw Wang Yuan holding the dead snake, they kept their distance. They put down the things, and Wang Yuan said, Well, let's lift this up and set it up here. Wang Yuan lifted the bamboo and leaves that were tied together, and the 3 women came over to help. The bamboo was propped diagonally against the reef, forming an A-frame shelter. The space inside was not small, but both ends were open. Wang Yuan picked up a few wooden planks to block the eastern opening, but the top couldn't be sealed. He then took a few more leaves and tied them on top, sealing the gap. Only an opening facing the sea was left. Yeah, Ren Yuanyuan jumped up happily, ran over to Wang Yuan, and gave him a loud kiss on the cheek. Wang Yuan touched the spot where he was kissed. I was just so excited. Ren Yuanyuan blushed shyly. Zhang Lanfang gave her a knowing look. Jiang Yin remained expressionless, still aloof. You girls lay those foam boards inside for a good night's sleep, Wang Yuan said. Then he put the suitcase inside. The 3 women were arranging things inside the shelter, which was spacious enough to hold 5 or 6 people without feeling cramped. Outside, Wang Yuan found a piece of rotten wood, drilled a small hole in it with his knife, and found a branch whose one end he sharpened. He spread some leaves on the ground, placed the wood on top, put the sharp end of the branch into the small hole, and started rubbing the branch forcefully from top to bottom with his hands. After a while, Rin Yuan came out and looked at him curiously, asking, "What are you doing?" The other two women, having finished arranging the shelter, also came out to watch Wang Yuan. Making fire by friction, Wang Yuan said. "Can you really start a fire?" Rin Yuan asked skeptically. "You'll see," Wang Yuan replied. "Ah, it's smoking, it's smoking." Rin Yuan cried out a moment later. The smoke grew thicker. Wang Yuan grabbed a handful of dry grass, poured the embers from the leaves onto it, cupped the grass in his hands, and blew on it with his mouth. Soon, with a whoosh, it caught fire. "Yeah." Rin Yuan jumped up again. Wang Yuan put down the flame, added another handful of dry grass, then some twigs, and after a while, added thicker branches, and the fire grew big. The three girls looked at Wang Yuan with admiration. The four of them sat down around the fire. Wang Yuan took a piece of bamboo, whittled several skewers, then brought over the dead snake. The three girls shrank back in fear. Wang Yuan skinned the dead snake, placed it on a leaf, then went to the seaside to wash it, throwing the innards into the sea. He returned to the fire, sat down, cut the snake meat into several pieces, skewered them on bamboo sticks, making a dozen or so skewers in total. He picked up 4 skewers and put them over the fire to roast. The three girls watched him with disgust at first, but soon a fragrant aroma wafted out, and they couldn't help swallowing their saliva as they eyed the sizzling, oil-dripping meat skewers. Wang Yuan picked up a skewer of meat, took a bite, and chewed it deliberately with smacking sounds. It's cooked, delicious." Wang Yuan handed the other 3 skewers to the 3 women, who shook their heads at the golden brown meat. In the end, Rin Yuan couldn't resist and took one, closing her eyes as she took a bite. It smells so good." Rin Yuan said, "Sister Fong, Sister Yan, it's really delicious, just no salt. You should try it too." Then no one could resist the allure of the aroma. Wang Yuan grilled the remaining skewers, and the 4 of them finished them all. "Hey, how about some coconut juice? 2 people share one." "Okay," the 3 women said. Wang Yuan cracked open 2 coconuts and handed one to Rin Yuan and one to Jiang Yan. Rin Yuan took a few sips and passed it to Zhang Lanfang, who finished the rest. Jiang Yan drank slowly, blushing after a few sips, and handed hers to Wang Yuan. Wang Yuan didn't mind and drank it all. "Brother Yuan, why didn't you pick all the coconuts? You left 2 on each tree." Rin Yuan asked. Leave a little hope," Wang Yuan said. "Sister Fong, Sister Yan, how did you survive? How did you get here?" Rin Yuan asked. "After the crash, I passed out. When I woke up, I was on this beach, and General Manager Jiang was over there too. The 2 of us just found some seafood to eat here," Zhang Lanfang said. "Let's put the coconuts inside." Wang Yuan picked up 2 coconuts and walked into the shelter. The 3 women helped put the coconuts in. Wang Yuan then took out his backpack, and the 4 of them sat down again. "Let's have some fruit after the meal." Wang Yuan opened his backpack and handed it to the 3 women, then took out a cactus fruit and started peeling it. "What's this?" Rin Yuan asked. "Cactus fruit," Wang Yuan said. With that, he ate it in one bite. Sweet and sour, really delicious. "Delicious, it's a bit like dragon fruit." Rin Yuan also peeled one and ate it. Then the 3 women peeled and ate the cactus fruit. Sister Fong, Yuan, are you going to the bathroom?" Jiang Yan said with a blushing face. "Let's go together," Rin Yuan said. "No peeking, okay." Wang Yuan was speechless. The 3 women stood up, laughing, and walked away together. Wang Yuan found some wooden boards and laid them by the fire, then spread a few pieces of foam board on top. He picked up a foam buoy, cut it in half with a bamboo strip, used one half as a pillow, and lay down. From a distance came the chattering voices of the 3 women. "Let's do it here." The 3 women, by moonlight, came to a spot behind a reef. "Wow, Sister Fong, you pee so forcefully," Rin Yuan exclaimed. "You little brat. Do you want a beating?" Zhang Lanfang scolded, blushing, and glanced toward the fire as she spoke. "Can't you keep your voice down?" Hee, it's fine. We're far enough away. He can't hear us," Rin Yuan giggled. "Huh? What's wrong?" Zhang Lanfang and Jiang Yan looked at her again. Rin Yuan deliberately put on a surprised expression and said, "Sister Yan, I've noticed something about you." "What is it?" Jiang Yan asked, puzzled. "I found that you probably have never had a boyfriend." "How do you know that? How did you figure it out?" Jiang Yan looked at her blankly. "Because Sister Fong has been married, and you're a bit different from her." "What's different?" The 2 women looked at each other, then turned to her with confusion. "I've noticed something, hee. Rin Yuan deliberately teased. "Oh, you little wretch. Spit it out," Zhang Lanfang scolded. Rin Yuan pulled up her pants and sidled closer, whispering, I noticed that Sister Yan sprays even stronger than Sister Fong. Haha. She burst out laughing and spun around to run. Ah, you pervert. Damn woman. Zhang Yan's face flushed bright red. Oh, you little brat. I'll beat you to death. Zhang Lanfang leaped up and chased after her. Quick. CEO Zhang, grab her. Got it. The two women gave chase. When they neared the campfire, they saw Wang Yuan lying there. Rin Yuanyuan quickly stopped, raising both hands and said, All right. I surrender. Have mercy, big sisters. Just wait, little wench. Next time I'll beat you black and blue. Zhang Lanfang threatened fiercely. Yes. Thank you, lady warriors, for sparing my life. Hee. Rin Yuanyuan hurriedly bowed and flattered. She quietly crept over to Wang Yuan and crouched down. Seeing his eyes closed, she thought he was asleep. They tiptoed over, picked up the other half of the pillow that Wang Yuan had cut off, and the three of them walked into the shelter together. Wang Yuan opened his eyes, sat up, then found a foam buoy and cut it vertically with a bamboo strip. He brought it to the entrance of the shelter and said, Here, use this as a makeshift pillow. Then he turned around and went back to lie down. Two hands reached out from the shelter and took the pillow back, and soon laughter could be heard. This is survival on a deserted island. It's almost midnight. How can they be this excited? Wang Yuan raised his wrist to check his watch and thought to himself. He then threw a thick log into the fire and lay down, drifting off to sleep in a daze. At this moment, the three women were still whispering in the shelter. They laid foam boards on the ground and were lying on them, chatting softly. Fang Jia, from now on don't call me General Jiang. Just call me Xiao Yin or Yin Yin. It feels awkward being called General Jiang, Jiang Yin said. Xiao Yin, have you really never been in a relationship? Zhang Lanfang asked. I'm not sure if it counts. What happened? Rin Yuanyuan raised her head, looking at Jiang Yin with a gossipy expression. It was when I was studying abroad in the US that I met a male classmate from there. We were together for less than 2 months before I came back, and we broke up due to cultural differences. It's been almost half a year since we separated, Jiang Yin said. Did you two, Rin Yuanyuan asked. Oh, what do you mean? We didn't even hold hands. Besides, what is a little kid like you know? Zhang Lanfang scolded. Sister Fong, did you really get married? Jiang Yin asked. Yeah, but we're divorced now. Oh, I'm sorry. It's fine. We were apart more than we were together, and our personalities didn't match. It's been a year since the divorce. Zhang Lanfang said. Sister Fong's ex-husband was a pilot, super handsome. Back in the day, there were lines of young girls chasing him. Rin Yuanyuan said. What do you, a little kid, know? Speaking of which, you haven't been in a relationship either, have you? And you were just teasing Jiang Yin about her strong stream, Zhang Lanfang said. Jiang Yin blushed again. That's different. I'm in the prime of my youth, a blooming young beauty. Rin Yuanyuan said, using both little hands to cup her face, looking smug. You mean we're old? Zhang Lanfang said menacingly. That's not what I meant. Huh. Then let me ask you, have you fallen for Wang Yuan? Zhang Lanfang said. Nonsense, how could that be? Rin Yuanyuan denied. Still denying it? With that lecherous look you gave Wang Yuan, you won't admit it. At this, Jiang Yin also turned her head to look at Rin Yuanyuan. So tell me, how did you meet? And how did you come to this island? Zhang Lanfang asked again. Rin Yuanyuan then told them about what happened after the accident. When she mentioned encountering a shark while swimming over, the two women turned pale with fright. When she said they made it to shore safely, the two women breathed a sigh of relief. Zhang Lanfang, being older and more socially experienced, said to them, Let me say something. You must remember. Go ahead, Rin Yuanyuan said, and Jiang Yin nodded repeatedly. Zhang Lanfang lowered her voice and said, Wang Yuan is the only man among us, and he built this shelter. You could say we haven't done much work. Moreover, he let us stay in the shelter while he slept outside, which shows he has good character. Based on what Yuanyuan said, Wang Yuan is highly skilled in wilderness survival. The two women nodded in agreement. Zhang Lanfang continued, We don't know when the rescue team will arrive. Before they come, we need to save ourselves and stay alive. The two women looked at Zhang Lanfang thoughtfully. People like Wang Yuan are truly rare. So, we need to stick close to him and never let him out of our sight. Wherever he goes, one of us should follow. We are a burden to him, and it wouldn't be unreasonable if he abandoned us and left on his own. After saying this, Zhang Lanfang stared at the two women. No way, Rin Yuanyuan said uncertainly. All right, you can't know someone's heart through their appearance, so let's be cautious from now on, Zhang Lanfang said. Jiang Yin was lost in thought, pondering something. Rin Yuanyuan also fell into thought. The three women fell silent. As dawn broke, Wang Yuan was woken by the cold. He checked his watch. It was nearly 6 o'clock. Although they were on a tropical island, the morning sea breeze was still quite chilly. The fire had already gone out. Wang Yuan stretched, walked toward the jungle, took care of personal business behind the grass, then returned and carefully took his suitcase out of the shelter. He saw the three girls sleeping soundly. He came out, opened the suitcase, took out his toiletries, and went to the seaside to wash up. After washing up, Wang Yuan came back and put the toiletries back into the suitcase. Seeing that the three girls still hadn't woken up, he sat down by the extinguished fire and fell into thought. There was no telling when rescue would come. To survive, a series of problems needed to be solved. Shelter and clothing issues could only be considered barely resolved. The main remaining problems were food and water. Although there were a dozen or so coconuts, they wouldn't last long. Moreover, eating too many coconuts could cause diarrhea, and getting sick on the island could be life-threatening. There were some medicines in the suitcase for emergencies. It would be better to try his luck deeper in the jungle. After all, with lush trees inside, there were bound to be many opportunities. Thinking this, Wang Yuan stood up and began searching among the rocks for ocean debris. Mineral water bottles, torn fishing nets, bamboo poles, rotten wood, aluminum cans, milk powder cans, etc. Anything that seemed useful was picked up. Soon, the three women woke up and came out to see Wang Yuan scavenging, having already collected a large pile. Jiang Yin curled her lips in disdain. "Brother Yuan, were you a trash collector before?" "Ha ha," Ren Yuan said. "These things will definitely come in handy," Wang Yuan said, putting down a bundle of bamboo poles. Wang Yuan began sorting through the pile, categorizing the items. Then he said, "Well, you go wash up. After that, we'll have something to eat." "Okay," said Ren Yuan. The three women went together to the grass to take care of personal matters, then returned with toiletries and walked to the seaside to wash up. Wang Yuan categorized and arranged the items, then picked up the bamboo poles and used a knife to shave them into several thin bamboo strips. He then dismantled a few of the torn fishing nets, and using the thin ropes he had taken out, he wove and patched together one of the torn nets with the thin bamboo strips. The three women finished washing up and gathered around to watch Wang Yuan at work. "What are you doing?" Ren Yuan asked. "Making a fish trap." "A fish trap?" The three women looked confused. "You'll see in a moment." The three women watched as Wang Yuan quickly wove a cage over a meter long. One end had a small opening. He then cut off the bottom and mouth of a plastic water bottle, made a few vertical slits at the mouth, and tied it to the cage's exit. Then he braided a rope about 10 meters long, tied one end to the fish trap, picked up the trap and a water bottle, and walked to the seaside. The three women followed behind him out of curiosity. Wang Yuan picked a few small sea snails from the reef, crushed them with a stone, put them into the water bottle, screwed on the cap, poked several holes in the bottle with a knife, and placed the bottle inside the fish trap. He also put a few stones inside, threw the fish trap forcefully into the sea, tied the rope to the reef, turned around, and saw the three women looking at him with admiration. Wang Yuan rubbed his nose and said, "Hey, let's go back and eat something." When they returned to the shelter, Wang Yuan said, "2 people per coconut. Let's eat some coconut meat and cactus fruit." "Okay." The four of them shared 2 coconut drinks. Along with the 2 coconuts they had drunk last night, Wang Yuan cracked them open with a stone, giving one to each person, and everyone also ate a few cactus fruits. "Hey, you guys take a rest. I'll go check out the jungle," Wang Yuan said as he stood up. "Wait, I have a suggestion," Zhang Lanfang said. "What suggestion?" Wang Yuan sat back down. "Now there are 4 of us, with you being the only man. Why don't you be our captain? From now on, just give orders when something needs to be done, okay?" "Well, that's not appropriate," Wang Yuan said. "I agree." Ren Yuan raised her hand. "I agree too," Jiang Yin said. "See, we all agree. It's only temporary anyway. Once the rescue team arrives, our team will automatically disband," Zhang Lanfang said. "All right then. If you're going to the jungle, we're coming with you," Zhang Lanfang said. The other 2 women also nodded. Only Yuan is wearing hiking shoes. Both of you are in high heels. It won't be convenient in the jungle." Wang Yuan frowned. "Then how about I go with you, and they wait here?" Ren Yuan said. "No. If there's danger inside, you won't be able to escape," Wang Yuan said. "Aren't there still 2 pairs of shoes in the suitcase?" Ren Yuan said with a pout. "Fine then." Ren Yuan took out 2 pairs of shoes. Canvas shoes and sneakers, both size 42. "You 2 pick," he said. The 2 women looked at each other. Wang Yuan found a t-shirt in the suitcase and cut it into strips with a knife. stuffing the strips into the 2 pairs of shoes. The 2 women suddenly understood. Then Jiang Yin put on the sneakers, Zhang Lanfang put on the canvas shoes, and they both stood up and took a few steps to test them. Not bad. Although not very comfortable, it won't get in the way now. All right, let's go. Wang Yuan poured out the cactus fruit from the backpack and said, Yuan, this backpack is still yours. We'll take a few bottles. Okay. Ren Yuan put a few bottles into the backpack and happily shouldered it. Wang Yuan picked up the peanut oil container and a tree branch, and the 4 of them set off. Wang Yuan beat the grass with the branch as they slowly walked deeper into the area. The 4 of them stopped outside the woods. Wang Yuan said, This is the forest ahead. It's very dense, and there might be poisonous insects and wild beasts. Everyone must be careful. Got it, the 3 women said. Just as they were about to enter, suddenly the sound of a motor rang out. Listen, a motor sound. Ren Yuan shouted. Could it be a rescue team? Jiang Yin said happily. Is it a rescue team? Then let's hurry back. Zhang Lanfang said. Quick, quick, quick. The 4 of them, no longer caring about beating the grass, rushed towards the seaside. Leaping over the bushes, they reached the reeds. Ahead was a group of rocks, and to the left was the beach. Stop. Wait a moment. Wang Yuan said at this time. What's wrong? The 3 women, who were running slower, stopped together and asked. Something's off. Let's observe first. What could be wrong? Even if it's not the rescue team, we can ask for help. Jiang Yin said. No, listen to me. Let's figure out the situation before going out. You just don't want to leave. On this island, you're the only man. You want us 3 beauties to keep you company, don't you? You're not just trying to be the leader. You want to be the emperor, right? Jiang Yin said. Wang Yuan stared at her in shock. Jiang Yin snorted and walked over. Ren Yuan and Zhang Lanfang also walked over. When they reached Wang Yuan, they glanced at him apologetically. The 3 women headed toward the reef cluster. Wang Yuan shook his head helplessly, walked to the edge of the thatch, pushed aside the grass, and leaned out to observe the sea surface. To the north, an oil tanker followed by 4 speedboats was speeding southward. As the vessels drew closer, the situation became clear. There were 7 or 8 people standing on the deck of the tanker, each carrying an AK-47. Each of the 4 speedboats had 3 people, 1 driving and 2 holding guns. Not good, pirates. Wang Yuan thought to himself. The 3 women were quickly walking toward the beach through the reef cluster, but because the rocks blocked their view, they hadn't noticed anything. The boats were fast and soon passed by. The 3 women had just reached the beach when they saw the stern of the ships. Fortunately, the pirates hadn't spotted them. Phew. Wang Yuan let out a breath, finally relieved from the suspense. He walked to the shelter, glanced at his watch. It was 10 o'clock. He picked up a coconut, sat down, cracked it open, and gulped it down. The 3 women came over and looked at him awkwardly. I'm sorry, Jiang Yin muttered, wishing she could disappear into a hole in the ground. Captain, I'm sorry, Zhang Lanfang said, her face red. Captain, forgive us. Ren Yuan said. I really don't want to be the captain. Wang Yuan said. Jiang Yin hung her head in embarrassment, unable to speak. I don't know what to say either, but we really feel guilty. From now on, I'll only recognize you as the captain. I'll do whatever you tell me, listen to you in everything. Please forgive us. Suddenly, intense gunfire erupted from the south, punctuated by a few explosions. Rat-a-tat-tat. Boom. Rat-a-tat-tat. Wang Yuan calmly sipped his coconut water, while the 3 women turned pale with fright. After a thunderous bang, the gunfire stopped. After a while, Wang Yuan said, Hide quickly. The 3 women stared at him blankly. Move. Wang Yuan barked. With that, he ducked behind a reef. The 3 women hurriedly found places to hide. Don't stick your heads out, Wang Yuan shouted. At that moment, the sound of an engine approached from the south, growing louder, and soon it was nearby. Wang Yuan observed them through the cracks in the rocks. Now that they were closer, he could see clearly. On the deck of the oil tanker stood over a dozen people, most of them black, with 2 or 3 white individuals. There was only 1 person driving the speedboat, while the people on the oil tanker deck were jumping and shouting in celebration. Some were chugging bottles of alcohol, others firing AK-47s into the air. After a moment, the boats passed by, and the group finally breathed a sigh of relief. The 3 women cautiously peered out, watching the direction the ships had gone until they were out of sight, then plopped down on the ground. Wang Yuan stood up and walked toward the seaside, untying the rope of the fish trap and pulling it up. The 3 women followed, watching him curiously. Captain, can this really catch fish? Ren Yuan asked. Yes. Wang Yuan replied as he opened the opening and glanced inside. Soon, he poured out 4 or 5 palm-sized fish and several large crabs. Yay! Captain, you're amazing. I love you, Rin Yuanyuan exclaimed. Wang Yuan reset the fish trap, threw it back into the sea, secured it, then handed the fruit knife to Zhang Lanfang. She said, "Well, Sister Fang, you guys clean these up. I'll go back and start the fire." Okay. Zhang Lanfang took the knife and called the 2 girls to clean the fish. Wang Yuan picked up the crabs and went back, put them into a milk powder can, then started making a fire. Soon the fire was ready, and the 3 women had cleaned the fish and brought them back. The 4 of them skewered the fish and crabs on bamboo sticks and began to roast them. After the fish and crabs were roasted, they shared them. Wang Yuan opened 2 coconuts and handed them to the 3 women, then cracked open the empty coconuts, and the 4 of them scooped out the coconut flesh and ate it. "Well, I'm going to take a walk in the jungle. You all rest," Wang Yuan said. "We should go together," Rin Yuanyuan said. The 3 women looked at Wang Yuan expectantly. Jiang Yin remained silent, feeling guilty. "No need, Sister Fang and I will go together," Wang Yuan said. "You all do something else here." Wang Yuan picked up a few stones and built a small stove over the fire, then took the milk powder can to the seaside, filled it with seawater, and placed it on the stove to boil. "You guys fill bottles with seawater. When the water in the can boils and reduces, add more water." "What are you doing?" Rin Yuanyuan asked curiously. "Nothing much, just seeing you had nothing to do, making something for you to play with," Wang Yuan said. "Oh, don't forget to add water and firewood." Wang Yuan looked at the time, it was 12:30, and said, "Sister Fang, let's set off." Wang Yuan and Zhang Lanfang walked toward the woods. Wang Yuan carried a backpack and a branch, while Zhang Lanfang held a peanut oil container. Soon they reached the edge of the forest. Wang Yuan said, "We don't know what's inside, and it's getting late. Let's go in together another day. We'll just search the perimeter for now." "Okay," said Zhang Lanfang. The 2 of them scanned their surroundings as they slowly searched along the edge of the woods. "Here, wild greens." Suddenly Wang Yuan pointed at the ground. "Oh, what kind of greens are these?" asked Zhang Lanfang. "These are shepherd's purse. Haven't you seen them before?" "I've only had shepherd's purse dumplings, but I've never seen what the plant looks like. There's a lot here. Let's dig some up." Wang Yuan picked up a stick and started digging. Zhang Lanfang followed his lead and began digging for shepherd's purse. Together, they filled half the backpack. "That's enough. Let's walk a bit further ahead," Wang Yuan said as he shouldered the backpack. After a while, he added, "Sister Fang, wait for me." Saying this, he set down his backpack and branches, then swiftly climbed a tree, breaking off a few branches. After that, he started whittling with his knife, but the knife was too small, making the task somewhat laborious. After a while, he finished carving a forked stick. The 2 prongs at the front were sharpened, and the shaft behind was about 1.5 meters long and as thick as an egg. Wang Yuan swung it a few times. It felt very handy. He checked the time. It was 5 o'clock. "It's getting late. Let's head back," Wang Yuan said. "We can deal with the remaining branches back at camp." "Okay." The 2 packed up and headed toward the seaside. On the way back, Zhang Lanfang carried the backpack, the fuel can, and a branch, using it to tap through the grass. Wang Yuan, meanwhile, held the carved forked stick and carried some of the broken branches over his shoulder. "Wait, look over there." Suddenly, Wang Yuan noticed a glint of light to his right and pointed at it. Zhang Lanfang saw it too. "Should we go check it out?" she asked. "Sure," he replied. The 2 carefully made their way over and found a piece of iron sheet stuck in the ground, partially hidden by grass, so only some reflections were visible. It was pure luck. Wang Yuan pulled the iron sheet out and saw it was about 1 square meter in size, with torn edges, forming an irregular square shape. "The crack looks fresh. It must have been inserted here recently." "Sister Fang, take a look. Is this a piece of metal from our plane?" Wang Yuan said. Zhang Lanfang examined it and said, "Although I don't recognize it, I can confirm that it is indeed from our plane." "Oh, what do you base that on?" Wang Yuan asked. "The break on this piece of tin is fresh, so it must have fallen off in the last few days. Different parts of the plane's metal are different, so the colors, patterns, and thicknesses also differ. Based on what I'm familiar with and have seen, I can determine that this is a piece of tin from somewhere on the economy class ceiling." Zhang Lanfang said. "Good, let's take it back." Wang Yuan nodded, already having made his own judgment. Wang Yuan picked up the tin and held it, with his other hand grabbing the tree branch and pole to carry them. Zhang Lanfang cleared the way ahead, swatting with a branch as she walked. Captain, about what happened this morning, don't take it to heart. After all, We're all survivors, and none of us have it easy. We all want to get back as soon as possible, so what happened is understandable. I apologize on their behalf, and I hope you can forgive us. Zhang Lanfang, being older and more socially experienced, said, that? Sister Fang, you're a flight attendant, so you're sort of part of the system, right? After all, we're stranded on a deserted island trying to survive. Through this time together, I've come to trust you. Some things I can tell you honestly, but you mustn't tell anyone else. You need to keep it secret. If it gets out, I can't guarantee the consequences. There are only a few of us here now. Wang Yuan said solemnly. Zhang Lanfang understood the consequences. Normally, Wang Yuan seemed careless, but he had his bottom line, and he was about to tell her that bottom line. All right, go ahead. Zhang Lanfang took a deep breath and said, I used to be a soldier. I joined the special forces within a year of enlisting, and within another year, I was in the special division of the special forces, the Nation's Blade. You might have seen it in movies and TV shows, which, though fictional, have a sliver of truth. Wang Yuan said, during one operation, I accidentally injured my own colleague, so I was discharged. Wang Yuan gazed deeply at the setting sun. Even though I'm out, I'll do my best to get you all back. Zhang Lanfang understood. Though she had never encountered such secretive departments, she knew that beneath the surface of national prosperity and strength, there were people bearing the weight. Some people may be unknown, but the country will not forget them. Some may have retired, but they are still fighting for this nation. These people are the backbone of China. I will definitely keep this secret. Zhang Lanfang said. It's been 3 days since the plane crash. The golden rescue window is 72 hours. The country must have known we were in trouble long ago. There's a reason they haven't come, though I don't know the specifics. But based on various signs, we can deduce roughly what's going on. Wang Yuan said. I haven't been exposed to this level, so I don't know what's happening. Zhang Lanfang said, can you tell me about it? It's not just Zhang Lanfang. Many people live in peaceful times, experiencing the nation's strength and the beauty of life. But the deep-seated intrigues behind the scenes, even politics that disregard life, are beyond their imagination. Let me put it simply. You saw those pirates this morning, right? Given the power of today's developed countries, pirates are like ants. So why are they still rampaging so wantonly at sea? There are some countries backing them from behind, Wang Yuan said. And the Africa we're heading to has several countries engulfed in war. Why are there still wars in this day and age? The shadow of those countries must be behind it all. Wang Yuan continued. So this area must be blocked off by many forces. I even suspect that our plane crash was their doing. Is this true? Zhang Lanfang asked incredulously. This is just my guess. Based on the flight time, we can roughly pinpoint our location. This place is a tangled mess. There are several pirate forces nearby, along with a few war-torn countries. Each of these forces is being remotely controlled by several countries. To survive, we have to find a way to live in the cracks, Wang Yuan said. Captain, we don't know anything. We can only count on you, Zhang Lanfang said. I'm not a god either, so we have to rely on ourselves. You should also persuade the others to learn to fend for themselves, Wang Yuan said. Okay, we'll work together. With that, the two returned to the seaside shelter, where the two women were still boiling seawater in a milk powder can. Captain, you're back, Ren Yuanyuan said. Yeah, how was your time? Wang Yuan asked. Some fun. You just had us burn salt. Ren Yuanyuan pouted. The milk powder can already had a small half can of crystallized salt at the bottom. Hee. Wang Yuan smiled awkwardly, then put down his things and walked over to take a look. The seawater in the milk powder can was boiling, with a small half can of crystallized salt inside. Wang Yuan quickly picked up 2 pieces of wood, clamped the can, and took it down. Then he poured out all the seawater and put the can back on the stove. Captain, why did you pour out the water? Why aren't you adding more seawater when you put it back? Ren Yuanyuan asked. What I poured out was harmful substances like magnesium chloride. What remains is sodium chloride, which is table salt. Of course, there are still some harmful substances in it, but they can be ignored. It's edible, Wang Yuan said. After the can had dried out, Wang Yuan used the wood to clamp it down again, set it aside to cool, and then put the iron sheet he had picked up onto the stove to heat. When the salt cools down, put it all into the mineral water bottles, Wang Yuan said. Then he moved over a few stones of different sizes and set them down. The 3 women filled 2 bottles with salt and watched Wang Yuan busying himself. Wang Yuan heated the iron plate for a while, used a wooden stick to take it off, and placed it on a larger stone he had picked up. He picked up a fist-sized cobblestone and started hammering. After hammering for a bit, he put the iron plate back on the stove to heat it up. He repeated this several times, then picked up the iron plate and walked over to a reef. He inserted the iron plate into a crack in the stone, shaking and bending it back and forth, up and down. After a while, he bent it into a circular iron plate 1/2 meter in diameter. Then he put the iron plate back on the stove and added some firewood. Wang Yuan heated it up and hammered it again, repeatedly, until a flat-bottomed pan was made. The three women looked at Wang Yuan with admiration. Ren Yuanyuan exclaimed, "Captain, you're amazing. Let's retrieve the fish traps now. It's getting dark." Wang Yuan gathered the leftover scraps from the iron plate and said. The four of them walked to the seaside. Wang Yuan pulled up the fish trap and emptied the catch, 5 or 6 palm-sized grouper for large crabs, and finally a big eel, over 1 meter long and as thick as an arm, slithering like a snake. "Ah!" The three women screamed in fright. Wang Yuan killed the eel with a stone, gutted and cut it into 4 sections with a knife, rinsed them clean in seawater, then handed the knife to Zhang Lanfang. "You all deal with the fish. I'll go back and roast these. Remember to put the innards in this bottle," he said, placing the eel's offal into the bottle used for the fish trap. Then he picked up the 4 crabs and the eel sections and headed back. He set a flat pan on the stove, poured in a bit of seawater, snapped a few bamboo strips inside, placed the 4 crabs on them, and covered them with 2 large leaves. He also skewered the 4 eel sections with bamboo sticks, sprinkled some sea salt, and set them to roast over the fire. Soon the 3 women returned with the 6 cleaned fish and began skewering them. "Have you put the fish trap back?" Wang Yuan asked. It's set," Ren Yuanyuan said. "Rub some salt on those fish and grill them," Wang Yuan said. "Wow, that smells amazing." Ren Yuanyuan walked over to the stove, where Jiang Yin and Zhang Lanfang were salting the fish. "Here, pass a skewer of grilled fish to Ren Yuanyuan. Eat up." "Hee, thanks." Ren Yuanyuan took it and took a bite. "Ah, so hot. Delicious, really delicious." He handed each of them a skewer of grilled eel and took one for himself. After eating, he put all the marinated fish on the fire to grill. He took the flat-bottomed pan off the stove and set it on the ground, lifting the leaf covering. A fragrant aroma immediately wafted out. "Wow, so good." Ren Yuanyuan's eyes lit up. "Well, there are 4 crabs, 1 for each person." After the 4 of them finished the crabs, the fish were also grilled. "I'm so full, I can't eat anymore." Ren Yuanyuan patted her belly. "All right, we'll save these fish for tomorrow morning." Wang Yuan was also full,